Hi there, it's Kristen from KBecca, and today I'll be sharing just one of the ways that you can assemble the new mini banner cards from the kbecca.com shop. Today we'll be assembling the happy birthday card, but there are 3 additional designs too. Congratulations, thank you, and celebrate. I'll link to all of those in the description area below the video. So first I've cut 2 each of both parts of the happy birthday card from white cardstock. Each design in the collection also includes a rectangular panel cut file so you can decorate the see-through area of each letter with colored or patterned paper, glitter paper, metallic paper, etc. There are lots of options, or you could just cut one of each part from white or colored cardstock for a more minimal and simple design. It's all about the look that you're going for in the final card. Today I'm using colored cellophane sheets. I found this pack on Amazon.com and it was about $7 at the time that I filmed this video. It includes 104 A4 size sheets in rainbow colors plus clear, so you get a lot of sheets for the money, and they can be used in many different kinds of crafts, including kids' crafts. I tried cutting the cellophane with my die cutting machine, but it's just too thin and fragile. I had some luck here and there, but the majority of the time it ripped either as the blade was cutting it or as I was trying to remove it from the mat. This happened even with the light hold mat. So instead, I'll be cutting it manually, which honestly wasn't as time consuming or as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. I discovered that you can cut the cellophane horizontally with a paper trimmer. You just have to go slowly to get a clean cut and make sure that the cellophane sheet is, I want to say pulled tight, but it's not really pulled tight, more like not loose. I hope that makes sense. You'll feel the friction increase when the blade starts to cut into the cellophane, and from there just go slowly with the blade down the rest of the sheet to cut it. I cut the cellophane strips roughly 1.5 inches tall. You don't need to be exact about it, but just make sure that you're cutting them tall enough to cover the letters on the card, plus a little padding, but not so large that they're taller than the individual letter panels on the card. Now that I have strips cut for all of the colors that I'll be using, it's time to cut each strip into smaller rectangles. I didn't have much luck when I attempted to cut the smaller rectangles with the paper trimmer, so I'm cutting them with scissors, and I'll cut each rectangle about 1 inch wide. Again, these measurements don't need to be exact. Just make sure that you're cutting them wide enough that they cover each of the letters on the card, plus a little padding, but not so large that they go beyond the individual panels that each letter is in. It took me about 15 minutes to cut all of these squares, and there are more than enough for multiple cards here. After I'm finished cutting the cellophane rectangles, I'm going to bring the card base back in and start folding it along the score lines. I'm alternating which way I fold each score line, so for the first score line I'll fold it downward, and for the second I'll fold it upward, accordion style. I'll repeat the process for the rest of the first piece of the card, and when I get to the tab at the end, I'll cover it with glue, and then line up the score line for the tab right where the second piece begins. I'll press the 2 pieces together for about 10 to 15 seconds, or until they're adhered together in place. After that, I'll continue folding the rest of the card. When I'm finished folding the first side of the card, I'll lay it on my work surface with the sentiment reversed. This will be the front of the card. Then I'm going to repeat the folding and gluing process with the second side of the card, making sure that the folds on the front and back match. I'll set the second back piece aside for the time being, and then I'll get a piece of scrap paper and squirt a bunch of glue onto it. If you're just making a single card, you won't need nearly this much glue. The amount that I have here will be enough for about 4 cards. Next, I'll dip an old paintbrush, one that I don't use for painting anymore, into the glue, and I'll start brushing the glue around the first letter panel on the card. You don't need to cover the panel to the edges in this step, just make sure that you get good coverage immediately around the letter. Then, take a rectangle of the first color of cellophane that you're using and press it in place over the glue. As you can see, it doesn't need to be straight, it just needs to cover the entire letter and stay within the panel that contains the letter. Continue adding glue, then cellophane rectangles to each letter panel one at a time, until all of the letters are covered with cellophane. After you're finished, you can turn the card over and see how fun it looks already. After this, we just need to add the back to the card. I'll come back in with the glue, and this time I want to cover the entire letter panel, except for the area with the letter itself, with the glue. You want to add glue right to the edges of the panel, and if you happen to get glue on the cellophane inside the letter, it's not a big deal because it'll dry clear and no one will notice. Or, as an alternate method to what I'm doing here, you can add the glue to the letter panel on the card back instead, which makes it a little bit easier to avoid getting glue in the letter area. Whatever way works best for you is the way to go. When I'm done adding glue to the first panel, I'll line it up with the matching panel on the card back and press the two sides together for several seconds, or until they hold together in place. After the first panel is set in place, I'll continue the same process for each of the remaining panels on the card. It took me about 25 minutes or so to do all of the gluing from start to finish. When I'm completely finished gluing both sides of the card together, I'll fold the card up to loosen up any panels or folds that have stiffened due to drying glue. The finished card would be such a fun and colorful surprise for any birthday girl or boy, and you can make it into a little package by folding it up and tying ribbon or twine around it too. You could even wrap it like a gift before tying ribbon or twine around it. And remember, you don't need to use cellophane. You can use any colored or patterned paper that you'd like. You can find a full list of supplies used in this project in the description area below, or in the area below the video if you're watching on kbecca.com. If you enjoyed this project and would like to see more videos like this one, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you'll tune in again soon.